Thank you. Well, it's good to be with you again for another beautiful Sunday sacred service. Can you share with me what you have in mind for a topic today? Wait. What was the second one?
Energy cords.
Okay, that's good. Okay. Remember to be careful what you ask for. The first words that come through. Nice way to start a pleasant Sunday, right? Oh, and devotion. Wow. Yeah. You know, it's an interesting thing because people still think, which I understand, but people still think that first there's a group of people that are totally asleep, walking around in this hypnotic trance thinking that they're awake. They actually think when they woke up this morning, they woke up. And all they did was stay asleep. And when they're sleeping, they're asleep. But one is a appearance of being awake and an appearance of being asleep. But you're never awake until you spiritually are awake. And you say, well, I woke up. How do you know? Well, I got out of bed and I opened my eyes. Yeah, but your eyes are an illusion. They're lying to you. And your senses lie to you. The senses are basically the minions of the ego. I'm going to prove and confirm your existence. How? Because I'm going to tell you that there's scientific laws, which are an illusion, that if you can touch it, taste it, see it, smell it, feel it, it's for sure, it's real. Then you know it's, how funny that a system called science told us how to know whether something's real or not. And it gave us the criteria, which it made up. Because the ego is saying, the more I can get you to believe in what you see, taste, touch, smell, etc., the more I can get you to believe that that's reality, the less you'll believe in the unseeable, untouchable, etc. It's so strange that anybody ever said, oh, okay, I vote yes on that. But we allowed it. And then we call the yogis, the masters, that say, your senses are lying to you. Don't listen to your senses. And they're masters, which they are, because they figured that part out. But how come everybody isn't at that level of consciousness? Why are they rare? Because the human race, by and large, which is controlled so much by science, which is BS, government, which is BS, and religion, which is BS. None of them are telling you the truth. They all create a distance between us and God. One's trying to prove there is no God. One tries to a pseudo approach of, we're guided by God. Even our mottos in America about God guiding us. But nobody's allowing the guidance and science that's trying to prove there's no God. But no matter what, they all are trying to create a distance between us and God. You have to break free of that and say, but wait, to be like the child in the fable that the emperor is naked. To be able to say, wait a minute, how do you know? And you've got parents or teachers. Well, we know because academically it's proven that it... Why? Well, because da-da-da-da. Why? But why? See, the childlike mind. Why should I believe that? When I had a dream last night, Mommy, Daddy, that I talked to God. Oh, well, those are just dreams and those are proven to be bogus, just, synapse, neurons of the mind firing. Somebody had a near-death experience. Oh, yeah, it's just, wishful thinking. They brush off God experiences. And how come more of us don't brush them off? Why don't we brush off things that aren't true? And when people tell you, and the TV shows, and newsflash, why do you get tense and what? All it means is another lie. Really? Let me hear it. Why is that exciting? Why is that stimulating to people's minds? There are really two roads home. But there are people that don't want to go home. And they're sleeping. And it's funny to me that people, it's so amazing that the linear dry, analytical thinking is still a favorite by people. It's still on everybody's greatest hits iPod, whatever channels, and programs we've got. The stuff that isn't real. To sit and go, just watching the game on Sunday, that's what I live for. Wow. Like, that's crazy to me. It's really strange to me. But it's also, you go to the next level, those who are waking up. And we've done talks, and it's on the YouTube playlist, about waking and sleeping and things like that, to more elaborated on. But we sit and we go, well, I'm not like the ball game guy. I wanted spiritual stuff, And we start listening and learning and expanding consciousness, which is the thing we should be doing. And yet, there's this point where we start realizing, as I'm growing, whether it's in a 12-step group, a book study, a meditative group, or whatever, we start to realize, wait a minute, am I going crazy, or is everything multidimensional? So you go from this linear, barely one-dimensional thinking, to this multidimensional level of consciousness. And I will warn you ahead of time, you're not going crazy, you're just waking up. This is a little more normal. But there's something even beyond that, which we can't go into yet, but because multidimensional, is already considered crazy by the ones that are linear, telling you, no, you're not allowed to be multidimensional or you'll be labeled crazy and locked up. Now, I understand part of what they're saying, because if you're multidimensional and not grounded, if you're not able to control how many dimensions you're in at any given time, I understand. I probably don't want you being my Uber driver. It's like, we'll just go wherever. No, I need to be at the airport in, 20 minutes. What airport? After all, what is airport? You know what I mean? Give me a linear thinker. Just give me somebody in their body. So I understand, but shaming those who are in that multidimensional reality consciousness is not helpful. It's more like being able to say to them, that thing that's happening? That's really good. Really? Everybody tells me I'm great? No, it's really good. Now, how can we take that and ground it? Just like electricity. How do we make it safe? Ground the wires. See, and that's what we can constructively bring them to. But there are two paths home, back to God, back to heaven. Two, generally speaking, there's two paths. One is the traditional path, and one is the path of Christ consciousness. And there's a bit of a difference, a distinct difference. The good news is either one can take you home, which is great. The traditional path we think of being kind of Eastern, and then the Western is Christ consciousness. No, it isn't. The two ways home, there's the traditional Eastern, mostly Eastern path, and the Western path is what? There isn't one, for the most part. Because you would say Eastern and Western. Western would be Judaism and Christianity, but no, that's not a way home. Those are religions. So there's two ways home. Traditional, we'll just say mostly it's Eastern, but there's some Western elements to it. But the traditional path means that you're actually able to get home. Too often, the Western traditions don't promise you to go home. They tell you generally the majority are going to go to hell. That's why I'm not calling that a way home. Okay? Because it doesn't end well. So that's why the Far East was so much better and so far more evolved in understanding spirituality. Because it at least told you get to go home. Not all traditions. Remember, even Buddha was born into a traditional Hindu system. And even though it had reincarnation and the promise of eventually getting home, he said that the methodology and the promise is too lengthy. It doesn't get you there now. So Buddha was saying you can get there within one lifetime. And the next step up, though, is Christ consciousness, that other path. There's the traditional path, Hinduism, Buddhism, and whatever else, Taoism, and so on. And then there's Christ consciousness, which isn't Western. It's universal. It's different. And The universal consciousness, the Christ, which is divinity as we know it. It's not a Jesus name. It's not a Christianity name. It's the consciousness of God. It's another name for I am, the I am presence of God. So that consciousness that God gave me when I was born, he said, let there be light. Light is synonymous, capital L, is synonymous with Christ. Let there be Christ. Let there be my holy child / children. Boom, and we were created. So when we're on the path and we remember who we are, that's Christ consciousness. I'm remembering my true self. I've returned to the consciousness of the Christ. Make sense? All right. So Christ consciousness says, hey, wow, isn't that great that Hinduism or some traditions would say you can evolve and get home eventually. Buddha steps up and says, well, I don't dig the eventually. I can promise that people can get there in one lifetime. That's really progressive, right? For 2,500 years ago, especially. Really, really cool. Jesus attains Christ consciousness and tells us there is no time. You were already there and you just don't know it yet. Boom! Like what? He didn't give us like the next level. He went cosmic on us. He was just like all the way there. He had to kind of keep it down a little, make it look like, the law of grace and, and you can achieve this and in less than a full lifetime like Buddha, you can get this sooner. But really what he's saying is so much more even than we think what he's saying. He didn't just say you can get it sooner, even sooner than the path of Buddhism, like a whole lifetime. Wow. You go from thousands of lifetimes and Buddha's saying you could do it in one. That's really progressive. But Jesus didn't say, I'm going to knock it down to 5 years, which would be like the next progression, wouldn't it? 10 years or something, less than one lifetime. Instead, he says, no, you're already there and you just won't accept it yet. That doesn't just take it up a notch, it takes it like, wow. So there are these two paths, and both of them, or either of them, one more word on the traditional. The traditional is right, it can get you home. Whether it's traditional Hinduism or Buddhism, they're promising you this. Enough devotion can get you home, and it can. But how come, if I asked you how many ascended masters you've ever heard of, how come most of you would not be able to count them on more than one hand? Why is that? They're not, because there's not that many of them, historically. I'm saying that the number of people that achieved, I'm not saying there's only 5. I'm saying it's not that known because the linear world doesn't believe in such things, but I'm also emphasizing the number of people throughout history that attained oneness with God is low in comparison to the number of people that have ever been on the planet. The number of people that have gotten there through Christ consciousness is hundreds of thousands of times more than what the traditional path brought through. Doesn't that sound promising? More promising? So the traditional path will get you there. Jesus says in the Course in Miracles, years spent as a devotee, years spent lying on a bed of nails to prove that the body's an illusion, to hang yourself up, no no food or water. You'll get there if you do the path of the ancient master, the yogis. You can do it. He says that. It will work. Because your goal was awakening, you'll reach your goal because goals are typically reached, whether people realize it or not. You set the goal clearly enough, go that path. Become that person that devotes to no thoughts extraneous, nothing, just mindfulness, God presence, divinity, do your yoga, Om Mani Padme, boom shakalaka, stay centered, don't eat chocolate, just only breathe, just pure. You're still going to die. But you're going to come back with why am I so interested in devotionalism? Because you've been doing it. And you're going to pick up where you left off. Because you're going to eventually talk to a yogi who's going to say, oh, you have done this before. So it's going to tell you, so pick it up where you left. Okay, and now you're going to do even more. Now when you look at me naked, you'll see my spine through my stomach because I'm so fasting for so long. You know, you can see my spot, like no food, abstain from everything. You know, I don't even breathe because it's an illusion. I just occasional little sucking of air. So you go this route of total devotionalism and you will get there. But it'll still take lifetimes. And I have to say, it's not that fun. It's really not that fun. Oh, but I know you're becoming enlightened. But what if another path was created, and I assure you it was, where you get to have your cake and eat it? Where you can get there in this one lifetime, not devotionalism year after year, the traditional way home. The traditional way could work, but what if there's another route? And there is. The one of Christ consciousness teaches us that instead of staying away, refraining from all that is wrong, how about just learning to forgive yourself for when you partake of anything that you think is an illusion? Just forgiving yourself. That's your new technique. Not, no. It's forgive. And you're brought into the law of grace. That's what's different. That's what's different now. There's this other way home. The other will work. The traditional route, it does work. So Jesus mentions that in A Course in Miracles, but he adds, but the method is tedious and time-consuming. I love that because he knows the truth, but he's respecting the illusion. He's respecting the illusion by saying, guys, if you want to do that, go ahead, fast, and you'll get there. Good job. Congratulations. People have done it. They've become what's called ascended masters for that matter. He says, but it is time-consuming, which means lifetimes, and it's tedious because you got to watch everything. You know, make sure you do everything just wholly. All right? He's saying, but there's another way. And whether you choose and so either one, any of you attracted to either one. Some of you are thinking, I'm the traditional and I'm hearing that that's wrong. I should do the other. No, either of them will get you home. It's just a matter of how much time you've got. You know, if you're like, I'm good with this. I want to spend another 100 lifetimes just not doing anything. Then I think that's beautiful. Go for it. You know, abstain from everything. If that feels right for you. However, this other path, either path you choose, traditional or Christ consciousness, either will get you home, but either also has to go through 3 stages. Okay? The first stage, and most people don't know about these stages, and what's a drag is people think they're separate pieces and that one's right and another's wrong, and I'm telling you no. They're actually all things you have to go through. The first stage of enlightenment, attaining awakening, whether you're doing it traditional or with Christ consciousness, the first stage is called healing, the healing path. So anybody that does the traditional or the Christy form of getting back, that tries to ignore their wounds, is not going home. Back to basics. What are you about? Oh, I'm all Christy, or I'm all Buddha, or I'm all awakened. Look at me, I'm Krishna embodied. And then somebody says, but what's going on with your, historically, where have you been? Oh, it doesn't matter, it's an illusion. Yeah, but tell me about your life. What do you think about this? Oh, I abstain. Why? Because it's naughty. Oh, why don't we talk about it? Why do you think it's naughty? I don't want to talk about it because that triggers past life memories. You're not healed. You got to go to the healing path. You can't get home without it. So it means exposing. Here I am. The healing path is generally the first stage. The second stage is the spiritual path. If you're watching a program like this, a presentation like this, whether it's in person or online, the chances are you're either on the healing path or on the spiritual path or both. Usually the healing path comes first, but not always. Some people embark on the spiritual path and it introduces them to the healing path, right? Some do the healing path and then inevitably they end up in the spiritual path. It's going to happen. And there's people that go, oh, no, I don't believe in any of that cosmic new age spiritual stuff. I just do yoga. Keep going. Go ahead, do some yoga. And eventually someone's going to, at yoga, mention meridians. And then meridians are going to be, what's a meridian? You know, invisible energy. Oh, okay. Next thing you know, you're doing qigong, and then what's qi? And then qi becomes something else, and it starts building, you know, like, oh, and then your aura. You know, you're doing yoga, energy systems, energy, aura. Aura is going to lead to chakras. Chakras are going to lead to something else. So you can do this begrudgingly if you want, but it's going to happen. It's impossible unless you're just the most, you know, hard, many thick walls around your soul kind of person, which is going to be pretty much miserable. But unless that's you, here's how it's going to happen. You're into healing, and you're going to be introduced to spirituality. You're into spirituality, and eventually someone's going to say, well, what do you think about this? You know, an old wound. Oh, I don't believe in old wounds. I just mantra them away. You know, and we've all been there. You know, it's like, oh, money, money, there's no problem. And the world has these issues. And oh, money, money. And you might be able to the TV news away, and it doesn't affect you. And something's going to get you. You know, and whatever you think, it's going to get you. No matter what you think about this. There's the point where every cup has to be emptied. Because you can't go back with, you know, to heaven, consciousness, with all this stuff, these unhealed wounds. And the healing path doesn't mean, okay, I'm gonna start drinking alkalized water and that'll make me holy. You're already holy. But the healing path and the spiritual path, when they combine, here's what happens. There's a third step. The first is called I am healing. The second phase or step is, or stage to awakening, I am learning spiritually. What do you think the third one's going to be, the affirmation? Right. See, most people get it. I am, but you're wrong. Okay? I am healing. I am learning. I am nothing outside of God. Because the I am that's healing and learning still thinks that it knows what it is. So it still thinks it's healing and learning, which means you still think you're separate. And I'm not saying you should say, okay, no, I won't say I am healing. I'll just go, you know, at some other mantra. I'm not telling you to pretend something more for yourself. All I'm saying is between those first two, I am healing, I am learning, there's a chasm that we have to go across. And it's a chasm of humility. I am nothing. And the way Jesus taught it to us, of myself, I am nothing. Wait, you're Jesus. Man, you won every poker game in high school. You know, you always knew everything, you know. You always could tell who to date because you knew who was going to desert you and abandon you, Jesus. You're like stellar, man. I am nothing. Why would he teach us that? Now, people that are into personal empowerment, they don't like Jesus. How dare he say things like that? Because I want to tell my students, I am wonderful. It's on my mirror. I am vivacious, sexy, young, you know, and everything's just kind of, you know, and you're like the painting, you know, that, anyway. Dorian Gray, you know, it's not looking good. But I am, and you try to enforce it with words. You know what's better than looking good? I am beautiful, is you feel. I would rather feel 20 than to look 20. And most people on planet Earth go external. I want to look this. No, it's actually more important to feel that. How do I feel that then? You know, are there trick steroids that, you know, oh man, I even feel young. It's peace. And where do I get that? You know, there's somebody you know that promises that if you eat or drink it, it brings you peace. It cannot. Only the presence of peace can bring you peace. The thing that is the presence of peace brings you peace. So what is that thing? Ultimately, it's God. Well, you know, you mean God like in the religions and the churches? And no, right here, just to open up and fill up with that presence every day. So the traditional path will get you home, but it goes through 3 stages. The Christy path will get you home, but it goes through 3 stages. They are, again, You've got to get into healing and you've got to get into spiritual learning. The problem with the traditional path is that it will tell you then, now all you need to do is make the third stage, just cross over. I am that I am, with that boldness, and I'm pure and I'm spiritual and I have no negative thoughts, no illusionary thoughts, and you can cross over to the third stage. The problem is very few of the people pursuing that made it, because they got to that chasm and thought that they of themselves can make it to the third. Because it's kind of logical. If I got myself well through first stage and second stage, obviously I have what it takes to get to the third, just oneness with God. But no, you don't. Because humility has to be there, because of yourself you're nothing, which means no thing. Listen again. Outside of God, I am no thing. Because you can't be outside of God, first of all. And if you would be and could be, you would be part of the illusion, which is nothing, no thing. So you work, your fingers to the bone to become so spiritual. You get to that chasm and then, wow, I'm almost there. I went through this as a kid, going through these initiations, thinking, wow, made it through the first initiation, second initiation. I saw that what was happening, initiations. All I got to do is keep growing spiritual, awaken my mind. And I got there, and then what I was confronted with was not the oneness with God, the chasm that will bounce you into the dark night of the soul. How are you doing? Oh, I'm doing so well. I'm just about there. I'm about oneness with God, and I'm just about there. I could just feel it. I'm just so dang holy. Wow. And then Spirit will say, oh, are you? Well, I want to introduce you to someone. Who is it Jesus? Mother Mary? No, it's the dark night of the soul. And then you just run screaming. How did this happen? I was so holy. I was meditating. I was praying. I was psychic. And people liked me. They even told me. Michael Mirdad's the best teacher. Blah, 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 blah. So look, I have testimonials. You'll watch them. They're like flash paper. And they just burn up and disappear. It's the weirdest thing. Dark Night of the Soul book, you like that? Thank you. This is now the interactive portion of the conference. I'm kidding. Sweetie, I'm kidding. Thank you. Yes, I'm glad you like it. And yet, there's people that crack that open. What I love, people saying they read my book, The Dark Night of the Soul, or the videos we've done on it. But imagine, in all humility, in all honesty, there are people that are going through the dark night and they don't know what it is or why. All they can deduce is everything in my life seems to be going wrong and I don't know why. That's a state of confusion and even victim consciousness. Going into the dark night of the soul without knowing you're going and how long and why, I think is horrendous. I really do. It was when I went into it like that. Nobody told me about it. So to write a book that's like a map, I really appreciated that came through, so that people can go, oh my God, there's a name for this. There's why I'm going through this. There's a general how long this is going to last. I can help it along if I learn A, B, and C. And I just think it's wonderful that people have an option, that people can have an answer, So thank you for seeing that. So you end up in the dark night of the soul because to get to the third stage, the way A Course in Miracles puts it, the first two stages are up to you and the third stage is up to God. Meaning, take yourself traditionally or Christy through the first two stages, or both. You can do a little of the traditional and the Christ consciousness. Christ consciousness means that you understand time's an illusion and you're already forgiven. You're already as God created you. So it's not a working like tradition to get there. It's an acceptance that you are there. Needless to say, that second option is faster. Does that make sense? And it has less of you doing to get somewhere, your being, which the traditional route will get you to over time. You gradually peel away layers and all the power that other things used to seem to have over you. You get to a place of being because it's an illusion. I was invested into this and now I'm not. I was invested in that, now I'm not. You let all the dark thoughts, dark emotions, dark behaviors, they fall away and you become enlightened. But the person who goes the Christy path is believing in the law of grace that I am as God created me, and you tend to not want to do the things that the other path taught you to drop. You just drop them. You see? but there's not a thought of how bad they are, that you need to fight to get over them. It doesn't make sense. I'm just not interested in doing this thing I used to do. It just drops away. So it is a more grace-oriented path, and it's, you could say, faster if we put a speed qualification on enlightenment. But the third, you get there. The traditional path, rarely does someone make it across that chasm. Rarely have they into that complete oneness with God. But the Christ consciousness, far more people have been able to cross over. And I don't mean that they ascended into completeness with God and oneness. They're still interacting at some level, helping the rest of humanity make it forward. But in a sense, they get to that place of, more often, these people that are into the Christ consciousness. Why? Because they didn't do it themselves. They knew that they have to call on the Divine Mother to birth the Christ in them. In the traditional path, I do it all. I figure it out. I heal, I learn, I grow, I yoga, I oneness, I meditate, I lie on a bed of nails. I do all these things and I figure it out. Nice job. The other is saying, I don't know anything, but God does. Poof, and you just open up to God. So instead of me dragging and clawing to awaken, I just go, well, I don't know exactly how to do that. So there's some yogi going through all this tedious stuff, which will work to get there. But there's, on another part of the planet, there's some old woman living in a desert somewhere who hasn't done any of the techniques to get there, but she just opens her arms and surrenders, and she gets it. I'm not saying she gets what the yogi gets in terms of intelligence or learning or technique. I'm talking about her heart becomes peaceful. You know, I mean, it happens. So that's what I mean by getting there, that the acceptance that everything is okay. Despite what my senses tell me, everything is okay. Somehow, peace surpasses understanding has filled my being. And I love that concept. I love that, you know, because I've done a bit of both. I've done a lot of the traditional awakening, you know, but I've also had my greatest epiphanies not through techniques, but through the moments of, wait, today I will share or experience no technique. I don't know anything. I'm just going to call on the Holy Spirit, which I call the Divine Mother. You know, next thing you know, whether it's a sleep or 5-minute meditation or 10 seconds at a stop sign, there's this palpable, like, opening that happens. Just like when I say, what would you like me to talk about? You know, and whatever the topics are, as many of them as is possible get integrated into that, right? It's instead of like, you know, teachers that I've known, authors that I've known, people that do public speaking. You know, when you talk to them, the old school, the traditional path of being a speaker, not just the traditional path of getting home to God, the traditional path of being a speaker, and then there's the Christy path of being a speaker. One says, I'm going to study, I'm going to learn, I'm going to memorize a talk, and I'm going to be good at it. And you are, just like the traditional path of going home. You'll get there, and you'll do a great talk, and people will think, wow, that's a wonderful talk you gave. The other path, the Christ path of doing a talk, is to take his advice, which is, don't be anxious about what to say. Call on me and I'll speak through you. I love that path. I'm the dude, I was never in class at school. You know, like one teacher said, you know, I think Michael loathes school. No interest. So the Christy path is really perfect for me because I don't have to go to school. I don't have to study anything. All I have to do is say, you know, okay, it's up to you. And then cool stuff comes through. And that's honestly the way this can work. I'm not telling you which path. I'm saying to you, there are two paths. Traditional, if we're talking about getting home, two paths to going home. Traditional and the path of Christ consciousness. And either way, there's 3 stages of those paths. You must embrace the healing path. And if you're a little more heady, a little more cerebral, you're going to love the study more than the processing. But there's a reason for that. It might be because you'd like to avoid the processing, emotion stuff. and just read more, talk more, you see, technique more. So we have to go and embrace both. If you can see yourself in this conversation and say, I'm definitely a little more the cerebral, I'm a little bit more, I like the spiritual path more than the healing path. If I were you, I would ask myself if there's anything I can do to embrace more of the healing path. I can't tell you contrive it or make it happen, okay? But what are you doing to embrace the healing path? And if you're open-minded and say, well, I can see that I'm very much more into the learning, the cerebral and the learning and studying, but I would like to open up more to the healing path. Everybody's different, but I would say it depends on the person. If it applies, a 12-step group, if not a counselor, don't just see a counselor that's going to do like old school, technique. I use the word progressive. Find a progressive counselor, get into a progressive 12-step group. If all we do is talk about, I'm an alcoholic and I'm trying to not be, that's not progressive enough for me. If I go to a counselor and they just have a notepad and a pen, and after we're done, I come back in 2 weeks, I come back, so how have you been? And it's just conversation, not progressive enough for me. Take me somewhere. Let's talk step study instead of just old addictions. Get me into this process. Why is God a part of this program? Why does this system called the 12-step program, why do they incorporate God? Look at it, ask why. Why is that? Why do they ask you to look at yourself? Is that just, random? We just wanted to fill 12 things, so we came up with something, That's a channeled course. You have a Course in Miracles, and people, wow, I heard that's channeled, so it has this wow factor. Some of you are into other channeled materials. I'm not into this and this and this, the healing and 12 steps. I'm into this, there's this being. There's this guy, he writes books, channelings from the 89th dimension, And it's like, wow, 89th dimension. Wow, that's got to be better than the 88th dimension, right? So you get all impressed. The 12-step program was channeled, which most people don't know, even people in the program. It is channeled. That was actually channeled. And as I've said many times, the guy wanting to put the program together went and visited a guy named Edgar Casey, who started channeling the program for him, but told him, you're also a channel. Like you could actually channel this whole program. Bill went, whoa, really? And he did it. That needs to be up there with whatever's sacred to people. The Gita, A Course in Miracles, and so on. And that program is far more practical because it's a spiritual program, but it's a spiritual psychology, as is A Course in Miracles. But that program will, lack of a better word, make you do the work. In other words, A Course in Miracles, you can read it and you may or may not do it. You're doing a program. The people in that program with you, which I love because it's people gathered with the same intention, they're there as a support group, but they're saying, look, what's your part in this? Well, no, wait. When I went to a non-progressive counselor, she let me just talk about my mother all the time. She didn't ask me, what's my part? I know, isn't that annoying? So you should just go back to that level of counseling if that's all you can handle. But as we go more real and deeper into the path home, you cannot get home talking about just others. As the Sufis say, there's only one of us here. So as soon as I go, man, that color just doesn't work on you. Where did that come from? Well, it's you wearing the wrong colors. I studied. I have a degree in clothing colors for humans, And I did, clothing colors 301, 101, 801 level, whatever. I'm a level 3 color coordinator. Whatever your training's been. And you have to say, God, that was ridiculous. Why? It's not what colors you're wearing. Why am I finding fault with you? And who's finding fault? Even if the person walks around with a shirt that says, I'm fault. I didn't find fault. They said it right on their shirt. Why are you finding fault? Why are you seeing fault? It's not my fault. It's on their shirt. If you're in the 12-step program, they're not going to go, oh, well, that's the exception. Here's, in the big book manual, 12-step program, it says right here, Bill wrote, unless it's on their shirt. You cannot. There are no others. Then why do we process and talk about hurts and wounds and people that betrayed us? That's how you start. Because that's how you feel, get it out. But as you progress from the healing path to the spiritual path and home, the healing path will start with others. But if you have a good teacher, sponsor, counselor, friend, mentor, whatever role they play, they will find always a tactful way to get you to move into you. They shouldn't shame you. And sometimes I've heard that in programs and workshops. Oh man, you're talking about others. This is when they have an ounce of knowledge and pretend they have a pound of knowledge. They're just, shaming isn't helpful. So when we sit around and say, hey everybody, did you just hear what they said? They said their mom did, their partner did. We don't buy that here. It's all you, man. That's not how you do this. Hear them. Let them share where they're coming from. They might have the greatest movement forward by being able to talk at all. To get it out. Because people have done horrendous things to each other on this planet. One day we'll be home, it'll mean nothing. But we're not there in our remembrance yet. So for now, give people a chance to talk. Let it out. Now, if you come to me as a client, and you say, whatever, my brother, my mother, my sister, aunt was cruel and they did this. I'm going to hear you. We're going to work on that. Now, do you think I'm going to have that same conversation every month if we do monthly sessions for a year? Heck no. At some point, I've got to move you because we're in this together. If I let you do this for a year, I'm doing this for a year. Right? You see that? So we're going to go somewhere today. Because my time's valuable. So we're going to go somewhere. And if you say, no, I want to go nowhere. I'll say, well, I know a counselor in town here that'll help you go nowhere for 5 years. It's kind of cool. It's called Nowhere Man Counseling. Beatles song, sorry. Okay, and you'll get nowhere, I promise. So what I'd really like to do is, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I don't want us to only talk about the darkness of the tunnel. I would like us to keep moving to the light at the end. So even if we have our very first session and talk about the dark, yucky things in the tunnel, by the time we're done with the session, I have to at least introduce you to the light at the end. Next time we talk, more and the light, more and the light. And pretty soon you'll find you're not here and the light, here and you're here and the light, here and you see what's happening? Progress. And it's a very beautiful process to be able to say, wow, I just realized 3 years ago when I came to you, it was everybody else that was the problem. And now I understand the thing I need to work on is not they did this, that's a pattern of mine. So I have 10 people that betrayed me, or I have one pattern. Betrayal. Would you like to talk about 10 people that betrayed you? Or can we gradually start talking about your pattern of betrayal? It's amazing to shift to that. Now we'll go there, but I'll still come back and let's talk about the people too. No problem. Because it's a wave, it's a movement. We're getting somewhere, but every so often we'll go back, stir up a few new things and then go this way and stir up a few things and come. But it's always the light at the end of the tunnel. Healing is a part of our awakening. It isn't either or. Well, I'm more into the healing path. My partner's more into the spiritual path. It's a really great blend. Except one of them's going to die eventually. And from the other side saying, I just realized why I was in your life. I wasn't just there to compliment you and be your healing path and your spiritual path. You're supposed to be embracing the healing path. And that's what Jesus said to his apostles and to you and me. I'm going to leave now. Wait a minute. What? We just found you, dude. You just convinced us you're the Messiah. You're going to bring salvation to all mankind. And you decided what? Yesterday? When was that? 10 minutes ago? I think I'm going to leave now and leave you all in hell here. Where'd you come up with that, Jesus? Did your guides tell you? You could get pretty irritable about hearing that, hi, I love you. Bye. I will be with you till the end of time. Oh, look at the clock. Boom. He ascends and we're still here, hating each other, hurting each other, feeling lack and limit. Why did he do that? It's perfect. Because what he said was, if I don't leave, the Holy Spirit can't come to you. Meaning, if you keep obsessing on me being your teacher, you won't become the teacher. You have to become the Christ. Well, then stay here and show it. No, because then it's going to be me talking about the Christ. I did. And now I'll leave and you guys are going to sit around. And you know what you're going to do first? Commiserate. Remember when Jesus used to bring the Christ to us? I wish he were still here, being all Christy. I mean, he knew we were going to go through that. Dark night, healing. And then there's a moment where sometimes you go, I feel miserable. Jesus left. Peter did that. He went through misery. And Jesus just comforted him and said, it's going to be okay. You'll see. You won't know you're okay, and making the third stage of all this, you won't realize you're making it. Every right choice you make is a ticket. It's a step in that room. It's not absolute like linear. You're here, you're here, you're here. I'm here, and when I do Christy consciousness kinds of things, part of me has entered that room already. So we started with this, that Jesus, his tactic through Christ consciousness is you're already there and you don't know it yet. So when you're healing, you're not achieving, ta-da! You know, like you break through the ribbon as you run through the finish line. Dun, 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 dun. You know, like that song, you know. It's not like you're running the finish line and the ribbon breaks and on the other side they're like, look, he's made it. Every time you are forgiving, loving, and of service, part of you has already gone there. Then another chunk and another chunk and another. The thing you think that we think is remembrance is actually when so many parts of us have now made it over the line, there's no other to go work on. We're just now living in that space. And that's beautiful. Because when you do, you go, oh my God, I was here all the time. All I was doing, remembering pieces. It isn't hard work achieving like people think. However, hard work achieving can work, so bless those who do it. I have no problem with that at all. I'm only saying that Christ consciousness teaches us a faster route, that we're already there. One more prayer and then God will like me. God already does. One more meditation and I'll become holy. You're already holy. The meditation is just getting your unholiness out of the way that you made up. I did that? Yes. What should I do? Forgive yourself for it. That's it? Isn't there like a special prayer? Oh, Jesus, please take away my naughtiness and unholiness. And Jesus is like, okay, let me take away your naughtiness. That would mean that there is naughtiness and unholiness. So God plays the game with us. You guys think you're all messed up. You think you have to work hard to become decent people. So fine. You know, I'll play along because that's what you believe. But the real epiphany is when instead we recognize, even when we're in the mud and trenches of life, to say, despite the way things look in my life, I am as God created me. I am holy. Mud, I know. Sickness, I know. But I still remain as God created me. And so do you. And there's people acting up in politics and science and, all these other realms that don't even believe in God. To be able to say, despite the way things look, God is. See? Do I always think that way? Do I always believe that? No. And you forgive yourself for that too. See, you can't lose. God is. God is. Yeah, but God is. Yeah, but God is. Keep answering. Everything is love or a cry for love. So what answer should I give for love? Love. What answer should I give for the opposite? A cry for love. Probably love. Because that's what they're crying for. Oh, no, 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 no. You don't know my ex. They were not saying, I'm hurting, help me. Oh, you expected it to match your senses. You have begged enough, ex. So I will bestow forgiveness upon you. They're not going to do it in that fashion. You and I are supposed to be holding the Christ presence in a world that seems fallen. Holding the Christ presence, and when they say anger, 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 you and I are asked to get used to hearing behind that, beyond that. They spit upon you, they crucify you verbally or in any other way, financially. Our job, despite those behaviors, which are external senses observing them, despite those behaviors, they are, as I am, part of God. Am I telling you that I convince myself that the behaviors are nice? No, I didn't say that. I said, despite the behaviors, there's something else. And that's why we learn to ask. And that's what Christ consciousness is about, not attaining and ta-da, and grandiosity. That's why Jesus and others said, don't ever let your system become about grandiosity, the robes and the opulence and, the golden rings and kiss my hand, to show how much you respect me, which is fine for those systems. I'm just saying, when Helen, who wrote A Course in Miracles, had one of her amazing visions, and she saw, I was at a church and I saw myself, I walked in and it was a holy experience. It was amazing. And I knelt down and I looked up at Jesus. She said, Jesus got down, came and knelt with me. See, that's Christ consciousness. It wasn't like Jesus was like, yeah, worship me, worship me. How amazing that our brother said, I'm right here with you. Are you in hell? I'm here with you. But I do need you to turn to me, to look at me, and I'll help you. Stay in hell and commiserate and pretend I'm not there. That's not I'm sitting right here. Why don't you open your eyes and see me? So we're back to Buddha saying heaven is all around, but you have to lift the veils to see it. What veils? Is there a technique, a mantra? Veil be lifted, veil be lifted, veil be lifted. And, and Vail, Colorado ascends, but veil be lifted, veil be lifted. You can mantra that, but wait, what are the veils that you're affirming, mantraing that they're lifted? My resentments and my limiting belief systems. The veils that Buddha's talking about need to be lifted to see it. It means the unlimited is here. Why are you seeing it with limited eyes? See, it's so beautiful and so practical. Prosperity comes, healing comes, all that, because it's all here. Those spontaneous healings, it's just someone accepting that they're more than they think they are. Prosperity, ka-ching, somebody, I did a golden candle ceremony and the next day I won $100. It's actually a veil that got lifted. It's not about deservability, but good job. You did the traditional route, ritual technique to get somewhere, and guess what? You got there. I wonder if tomorrow you can try this other route home, which is, and I'm already deserving, even without the candle or the Jesus statue. That sounds easy, but it isn't always easy. It should be and could be, but what gets in the way? People's opinions. My history. I'm undeserving. I'm unloved. I'm unlovable. I'm flawed. I'm damaged. All those little stories, about men, women, gays or straights or this or that, and colors, and all the stories, they add up to more and more illusion. So when Buddha says, lift the veils to see heaven, he's also saying, lift your opinions on your color, your gender, your sexual preferences. Lift all the veils. I don't know anything. That's what it means. See, empowerment, I know everything. I'm amazing. It's on my mirror. But the enlightenment comes across the bridge of humility to the third stage, which is, I know nothing. Of myself, I know nothing. Because of myself, the self I'm talking about, is the broken one that knows nothing. But of God, I know everything. So what should I do? So I surrender to you, God. God comes down into the altar of our hearts and says, if you don't mind, I'm going to kneel with you and look upward to heaven with you. You see? And then we And then God will say, what are we looking at? God. Nice, nice, nice. And then what? And then what? I don't know. I'm going to wait and see. What are we looking for? Oh, purple lights, sparkles. And God's like, okay. Oh, I see them. Do you see them? No. Fallen, you know. Or God's going to say, well, we looked for lights. We did what you wanted. Can we try something different? Yeah. Let's ask for a feeling of peace. Oh, yeah, but lights are really cool. Oh, yeah, lights, I loved them. Yeah. Sparkles and golden, yeah. Let's ask for a feeling of peace. Okay, and then boom, you have made room and space for a feeling of God's presence. And then you're home. It might be for a second, a minute, I don't care, time's an illusion. Don't ever let yourself qualify and quantify these concepts of how enlightened was it, how long did it last, how many colors did you see. Just call it in and think of it as permanent. This has a permanent effect, and I assure you that it does. Only your head can shift like channels on a TV. You notice how I did that old school kind of channels on a TV, how weird, you know. Remember the dials? Click, click, channel 2, click, click, channel 4, you know. Now it's like, computer, put on channel 4. So, the easy way, guys, the easy way. The feeling of God, look for that. Call on that and allow it to come in. Please take a few centering breaths. For today's meditation, we won't use music in the background. We're going to do something different. And it's going to be a nice, centered chant. A beat on the drum. And all we're going to do is gently, like a almost silent at first. Everyone will do love, 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 love. The gospel in one word is love. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Love, holy love again. Love, 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 love. The gospel in one word is love. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Love, holy love. Ladies only. Holy love. Gentlemen, just holy. Holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. Keep going. Holy love. Everybody together. Love, love, love. Gentlemen, holy. Holy, holy, holy. Louder. Holy, 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 holy. Keep going. From the hearts out to the world. Again, bigger to the universe. One last time, big. If words are powerful, let's soak in the meaning of those words. If vibrations have power, let's soak in the vibration of that. If intention is fantastic, let's soak that in. Everything from that experience. Ladies, even within men, the feminine. I'm just using the traditional wording. Ladies, keep your affirmation. Don't believe in what you see. It is your job, the feminine in us, to birth something, the Christ child. So we have to remember holiness, but we have to affirm love, love, love. The gospel in one word is love. Love your neighbor as yourself. Love, 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 love. Love God, self, others. Affirm that love. We need that. We need everyone's divine feminine to affirm love. But that divine feminine needs a support system. It needs to feel safe to say those words. That if we love, 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 then everything is okay. And that's why the healthy divine masculine will affirm holy, holy, holy. It's affirming it. It's like saying to the feminine, this is a safe place for you. I'm affirming holiness here, now. Be what you are. Come out and sing for us all. And into that steps the divine feminine, and the two are wed. The divine marriage, that alchemical marriage. I have to become safe as a male. All of us, the masculine in all moms, all women, men, everyone. It has to hold space. I cannot continue to acquiesce and succumb to addiction and hurtfulness, selfish behaviors, and expect the affirmation of the feminine to become manifest. And last but not least, I'm not doing this alone. The divine feminine, the divine masculine, 2 steps in my return home. But the 3rd step is up to God. So I say, God, guide me and show me how to be that safe male. Instead of trying to figure it out in the traditional route, surrender, humility, the path of humility. I don't know. To be a musician, instead of saying, I'm a musician, I've studied a long time, I'll play what I know to be right, to be able to say, what would you have me play? How would you have me play? And to follow guidance. As a parent, as a teacher, whatever I do, I am as God created me, and I will to be the Christ on earth. And so it is. Very gently and gradually, come back. Very gently, gradually. Take your time. Soak it in. Holy, holy, holy. Wow. Holiness, holy, holy, holy. Wow, just surrendering all this into God's hands. Guide me, where you'd have me go, what you'd have me say and not say, to do and not do. In the traditional path, guys, there's still karma and reincarnation. In the path of Christ consciousness, all that's erased because you're a whole, perfect being. You can't have debts to pay. See, there are perks and differences between those two paths. The traditional will get you there, but you're still working off karma. So be pure until the karma's gone, and then you'll remember God. Great. How about just accepting you're pure now and not giving power to the karmas and the whatever else? And I'm not saying ignore it. Respect that genetics seem to do this and that. Karma seems to. But know that it doesn't. Know in the deep recesses the truth. Very cool. Really love seeing how some of you, it could be all of you, but in particular, some of you really, something really amazing happened. And it happened for everybody, I could tell. Especially the last repeat of the song, something really clicked. But for some, the tears or the glory to God motions and mudras, and I love when people can let themselves go. Thank you for that. All right, you're welcome. We will do our collection and our closing prayer. The collection will only take a minute or two. Please be as generous as you can. If you have the means, any extra donations you can give, the regular donations go in the blue bags. The baskets are for any extra donations that you could afford, whether it's change in the bottom of your purse or a specialized donation. You know, you can donate, you can be a sponsor here, you can tithe regularly, you could give a one-time donation. How you help here, it can happen in many ways. But one thing we are doing, it's a couple weeks away, a new air conditioning system, quieter and more efficient, but it's time to get one. The other one's quite old. So we're going to replace the old one, so we'd appreciate it. And it's like 20 grand, so we're saving up for that at this time. Keep that in mind when you share your donations. Hold your donation to your heart. The prayer's online, and it's on your cards in front of you. Together, please. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Beautiful. Thank you. So while they're passing those out, a couple quick things I'm going to share with you. Remember, the chaplains can pray with you. They'll be hanging to the side walls. Chaplains, remember that, to hang out to the side so they see you. If you'd like somebody to do hands-on healing, prayer, counseling, whatever you'd like them to do, they'll sit privately with you after service. If folks are looking for a private session with me, I do them. There's kind of a waiting list, always has been. And but if it's an emergency, you try to convey that to us, and we'll do the best we can. But if you want a session, you can sign up, and we do those through Zoom or rather on the phone. Overseas, Zoom. If you live in Sedona, don't ask for a Zoom session, please. Just let me call you, okay? We have the crystal bed healing sessions that are here if you'd like to sign up, especially if you're out of town, it might be new for you. We have a healing room, crystal bed sessions. And social media, you know, do all the usuals, subscribe, like, share, and so on, YouTube and whatever's appropriate for Facebook, YouTube. If you post messages, like on YouTube, about, you know, I love the video, they need to be concise. They need to be coherent and concise. I love that you're a multidimensional being, but I prefer English with some grammar and punctuation into the sentences you share. Okay? And we won't post things if they're too much. Remember, do your best. Let's make it a habit to arrive a few minutes before the hour, because that's when we'll do our opening song, because we can't do some songs live when it's online being filmed because of copyright. So join us ahead of time. We usually forget to mention DVD sets. Like when we're talking about Christ consciousness, we have sets of DVDs. There's a lot of free talks on YouTube in our channel, but there's a lot of DVD sets that have a variety of talks that you can go and get more on. And remember, we're changing our name. It's already kind of done, but as of the first Sunday of September, we will be known as the Global Center for Christ Consciousness. It's because it's what we are and it's how we roll. Yeah. It's kind of funny because we talked about it, I thought, first of the year. And then it's like, well, wait, you know, there's an excitement. Everybody's like, let's do it now. Now, right now, today. Well, okay, let's at least wait till September. But, you know, it's there. We're already there. So to call ourselves anything else, but you have to let people's minds, you know, do the switcheroo. But that's what we are, so that's what we're going to begin naming ourselves, calling ourselves. One last thing is just remember the Sedona Psychic Fair is coming up, Sunday, August 21st, and Unity of Sedona hosts that Psychic Fair. It's if you have questions, you can ask Dosey or Joy Hammond. The two of them are mainly behind it, but I know they have a list of volunteers that support them in this event. But if you'd like, try to schedule ahead of time. They do book up full. Doesn't mean don't call. If you don't call today, don't bother thinking there won't be any spaces. There's sometimes cancellations and things, but try to schedule ahead of time, all right? All right. Can anyone share, just in a sentence or so, what did you learn or hear today that can make the most difference for you? What did you learn or hear today that was important for you? Yes?
The very fast route.
Everything? The fast route?
To home is healing, spirituality, and then sort of going through the chasm of
To God, yeah. The 3 steps. Beautiful. Healing path, spiritual path, and I want to make this clear. It's the healing path, spiritual path, and then, yeah, there's that going into God consciousness. What do I do until the day that I'm brought through to the 3rd step? Because it's not 1, 2, 3, done. What do I do when I've done healing path and spiritual path? Let's make this clear. Live it. You will not have anything reach down and pull you into the 3rd level, which is up to God. That's the hand of God. That will not happen when you want it to. It's not, I'm ready. It's not, my life is terrible, take me now. It doesn't happen like that. It is the healing, the spirituality, and share that with others. Share the change with others. Share the program. Live it. Yeah, but I've already done those, so can't I go home? No, you've done it for you. Now bring it to the world. You'll find more healing and more growth on a new level by sharing it with others. So I'm glad you brought that up, just to go back and make that point. You live the Christy life, the Christ life, and feel as though you're already taken through. Even while you're still here dealing with having to wash off mud occasionally. All right, who else had their hand up? Yes?
Humility.
Humility.
Can't do it without that.
Yeah, of myself, I'm nothing. I can't do this alone. You know why you can't do it alone? Because you're not alone. And if you think you are, you're already out of your mind. You know? Can't do this alone. I have to do it with all one. God. Yes?
I thought it was very interesting what you said about the structured speaker and the kind of channel speaker. My father was an Anglican clergyman, and he had all his sermons written out. I'm the other way. I'm much more like you.
Right on.
I'm kind of like off the top.
So you loved it. Yeah, you're off the top already.
Off the wall.
Off the wall, off your rocker, you know. I'm kidding. But you're right on. So he loved the difference, that traditional, like prepared speeches, which is fine. You can prepare a concert, every note, it's beautiful. People will appreciate, wow, look how tight that was. But there's also another route, which is filled and something happens. And that's a little different, yes.
One of the things that I was aware of while you were talking was, when you're working with someone, like somebody who's being mean to you or rude to you, or, and you're seeing the other side of them.
Yeah.
You're being conscious of the fact that they too are part of this oneness that we share. They are a part of God. But it also can't excuse their behavior.
Right.
So there's it's an interesting know the truth but resist
Right.
the illusion. However, when we see the God in them, we're like planting those seeds in their consciousness.
Right. So she's talking about the part about seeing beyond someone's behaviors. And when you do see beyond it, the part she added at the end, you're actually planting and watering seeds by seeing beyond their behaviors. You're actually sort of evoking the Christ out of them. So that it's not just you're trying to see that. You're actually raising it enough so you can see it. But now you've left them with a heightened sense of Christ consciousness. Do I think all of them are going to send you letters of thank you? Most of them won't even know you did it. But you do the work without relying on the senses to tell you whether it worked or not. I'm going to do one more, and there was somebody over here who, yes? Right. Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And there's a lot you said there, which I couldn't do service to by repeating it all, but I love one of the points you're making, that you appreciated the honoring of the multi-dimensions and aspects and facets, right? Beautiful. And you know what's really interesting, when you talk to people about multidimensionality, they go, yeah, man, fourth dimension, fifth dimension. And they think that the most fantastic thing about multi-dimensions is the conversation about the different dimensions. But if we're in a multi-dimensional universe, oh man, fifth dimension, right? Eighth dimension, 150th. Zzz, I don't even talk, I just buzz because I'm in the 100th dimension. You know, okay, great. But if we're in a multi-dimensional, you said the word simultaneously, in multi-dimensions, right? It also means we're in God. Simultaneously, there's a part of me right here, right now, that's home. And the rest is the dreamt universe of other dimensions, which is rooted in the word dementia. Okay? There was one over here. Who was it? Yes? Everything is love for a cry for love. How is that not the coolest? You know, because when you sit with that, annoying people, news, oh, that's so annoying. Wait, everything's love or a cry. It changes the way you look at it all. And you can start being holy and, oh, I bless that person on the street. And it's all love or a cry for love. It becomes easier to do that with people. It's the ones that pop up, like your own family members, that it becomes challenging. It's easy to do it. You know, there's a person on the street. It's love or a cry for love. I mean, you know, it's distant, so it's kind of nice. But it's a good place to practice. Because eventually, a family member is going to call. Or an ex-husband or wife, and that's where it sneaks in and catches us off guard. Forgive yourself, because I too am love or a cry for love. And when I got irritated by them when they called, my cry for love. Darn it. I didn't catch it until like 3 weeks later, and now I'm going to get all over myself and judge myself and have all kinds of frustrations and anxiety attacks over it. And eventually I have to say, well, what am I supposed to do? Oh yeah, forgive. Oh, okay. And by the way, you too are already home. And that was just a dreamt, bizarro moment. So can we let it go? Sure. And you might say, no, I want to obsess a little longer. My beloved, God says, and so it is. Go ahead, obsess a little longer. But there's a point where we reach a pain tolerance and say, no, peace now. So thank you, everybody. Let's please stand for our closing prayer. How's it feel? How'd you like the prayer song chant?
Lovely.
Nice. Did you get what I started saying there about the masculine holding the space? That just, I've said that before, but it was coming through with flair. There was additional concepts around it, so I shared that. It's so important to recognize the male in me has to create the safe space for the feminine me to sing life into being. Centering into a feeling of gratitude. The light of God surrounds us.
We are the light of God.
The love of God enfolds us.
We are the love of God.
The power of God protects us.
We are the power of God.
And the presence of God watches over us.
We are the presence of God.
Wherever we go, God is, I am, we are, and so it is, and so it is. God bless you all. Peace be with you. We'll see you.